Alright, so this just changed the way that I play VR. I don't even need to use my thumbsticks anymore. Meet the RotoVR chair, a motorized chair that lets you turn 360 degrees by just rotating your head. No more snap turning, no more smooth turning, just no thumbsticks for that anymore. It's just smooth, natural movement by your head. And if you're into hand tracking, you can even go controller free. Oh, and did I mention that it even got a rumble pack for bass and haptic feedback? And it is actually designed for people with motion sickness in mind. Thank you, RotoVR, for gifting me the RotoVR chair.
Alright, let's break down exactly how this thing works. The magic behind the 360-degree movement is this little sensor right here. You attach it to your VR headset. Personally, I placed mine on the side of my head strap, and I also tried it on the top strap to test different positions. Once the sensor is in place, the chair syncs with it and automatically rotates based on where you look. That means no more snap turning or using your thumbsticks. Your whole body moves in sync with your head. It's an entirely new way to experience VR. Now the sensor also has 3 different speed modes. The first mode is the fastest, which feels super responsive but might take some getting used to. The second mode is a balanced middle speed. And the third mode is the slowest, but it's great for beginners easing into the movement. So how does this chair actually feel in different VR games? I tested it across a few different types of games, and here's what I found. I started with something simple, First Encounters. Most of you probably already know this game. At first it felt kind of weird just sitting in a chair while looking around and shooting at the fuzzballs. Normally I just stand up and walk around, but with this chair I didn't have to. It was a little weird at first, but once I got used to it, the experience felt quite funny and intuitive. Next up, I played Batman Arkham Shadow, which is loaded with action. I really wanted to see if the chair could keep up with the quick decision making, especially when enemies appear behind you. And yeah, it worked. Instead of waiting for my chair to slowly turn, I could quickly look and move instantly. In action-based games like this, every second counts, and the chair was definitely responsive enough to keep up. Now here's where things got a little disappointing. I tried a roller coaster sim, thinking it would be an amazing experience, but yeah, the chair only tracks head movement, and I understand that. So instead of feeling like I was in a coaster, it just started spinning me in random directions inside the cart. It just didn't make sense because the movement wasn't syncing with the coaster's motion. If the chair could track in-game physics rather than just head movement, it might work better in the future. But for now, it is not the best experience.
Oh, and the RotoVR is also compatible with some major titles like Ask Us Red, Assassin's Creed, Population 1, Iron Man, and so on. Alright, so immersion is one thing, but what about the comfort? Can you actually sit in this chair for hours on end without feeling uncomfortable or sore?
One thing that surprised me is that this chair was actually designed with motion sickness in mind, because there's less disconnect between what your brain expects and how you actually move in VR. It helps reduce nausea for some players. Now, I personally don't experience motion sickness in VR, so I can't say it changed anything for me, but I can imagine that for people who struggle with nausea, this could be a huge help. And how does this chair actually feel? Honestly, it's quite comfortable. It's not a super plush couch, but it also never felt uncomfortable or strained my body in any way. I played for about 4 hours straight, and instead of feeling sore or stiff, I was actually more disoriented when I got off the chair, which just goes to show how immersive the experience can get. I thought the transition would be weird since I'm so used to thumbsticks for turning, but surprisingly, it was pretty much plug and play. The biggest thing to adjust to is just breaking the habit of reaching for the thumbsticks. But once you get used to moving naturally, it feels super intuitive.
Alright, let's talk tech. How does this chair actually track movement and how easy is it to set up?
The magic behind the movement is this head tracker device. It comes with 3 buttons on top and 1 on the side. And it connects to the chair via Bluetooth. Although there's also a wired option, which I haven't tested yet. The middle button is the power switch. The red and white buttons let you manually rotate the chair. If you press the red and white button at the same time, you will be able to change modes between 1, 2 and 3, the speed modes. It's super simple, just turn it on, place it on your headset and sync it with the chair, and that's pretty much it. Right now, the chair has the best support for the MetaQuest headsets, but it also works with the Vive XR Elite, Pico Neo and soon the Apple Vision Pro and the PSVR. So do you need extra software or calibration? Nope, just plug and play. Connect the chair to the tracker, place the tracker on your headset, make sure you look straight ahead, because that's the only calibration it needs. Then you're ready to go basically.
Okay, so we know that this chair moves well. But what about the extra features? Does it have some extras that improve the experience? Or is it just gimmicks?
Alright, let's talk about the rumble feature, which honestly felt like a gimmick. First of all, the setup is quite messy. You actually need external headphones for it to work, because it connects via USB-C to the aux cable. Then you have this aux splitter, where one side goes into your VR headset and the other goes into your headphones. So now you're left with a dangling cables everywhere basically, unless you manage some really good cable management. And if that wasn't enough, the rumble itself felt kind of off. It detects your game audio and rumbles based on that, but instead of feeling like proper haptic feedback, it just is like an on-off vibration. At first, it was also very loud and intense, so I had to turn it down using the knob under the chair. But after testing it in a few games, I just didn't feel like it added much, so I didn't bother using it anymore. Maybe there's a hidden setting I missed, but from my experience, not worth it at this time. Like I mentioned before, I personally don't get motion sick, so I can't say if this helps. But the idea makes sense. Since you're turning naturally instead of using a thumbstick, it could help reduce nausea for some people. And if you do get motion sick in VR, I made a dedicated video for that. So you can click somewhere on the upper corner of this video to get to that one.
If you decide to purchase the Roto VR, use the code below in order to get $50 off on your purchase. And of course, you'll help out the channel. The link is in the description below.
Overall, the chair itself feels really solid. The build process was simple and it comes with a very nice instruction booklet made of high quality paper with clear instructions. The seat covers are plastic, so don't stand on them, they are not meant to support extra weight. My only concern is with the head tracker device. It feels a little plasticky, and I understand it needs to be light on your head. Because when I clipped it onto a thicker part of my headset, it popped off a few times, exposing the cabling inside. That was a bit concerning. So you want to be careful where you attach it. One cool thing though, the head tracker has a built-in sensor that knows when it's unclipped. So if it falls off, the chair automatically stops moving. That's a nice safety feature.
Alright, so this chair does a lot of great things. But let's talk about the stuff that you should consider before actually buying this chair.
Let's be real, the chair isn't cheap. At 969 euros, it's definitely not an impulse buy. Now, is it worth the price? That really depends on how much you value immersion. If you're someone who spends a lot of time in VR and wants to eliminate artificial turning, then this is of course a big step up. But if you're just getting into VR or you're happy with traditional controls, you might want to think twice before spending this much. It's awesome, but it's also not a necessity for enjoying VR. I was also a bit worried about how much space this chair would take up, but surprisingly, it's not much bigger than a normal gaming chair. Of course, the plastic covers gives it the illusion that it's a little bit wider, and of course it is a bit wider. but not by a whole ton. Just take into account when you're moving your arms and hands. Plus it has wheels, so moving it around was really easy. Now when you're in the middle of a game, you do hear the chair moving. It's not super loud, but it does remind you that you're sitting in a motorized chair. However, it's not enough to ruin the immersion. The bigger noise issue would be the rumble pack. Now, of course, it vibrates, so it's not really a speaker that's making noise, but it can be loud. So if you live with roommates or family, they might not appreciate hearing it vibrate all the time. So is this chair for everyone? Well, if you're new to VR, this might be overkill, or if you play VR casually. But if you are a hardcore VR user who wants full body immersion and less motion sickness, this could be one of the best upgrades you can get.
Now, to get the best result in order to eliminate motion sickness for good, check this video out right here, where I discuss pretty much everything that you need to know to beat motion sickness. So I'll see you there.